Hi everybody. I want to talk about my articles today, and maybe we can start this point from this point. Okay. Queen Elizabeth I was born in royalty, but she never found a guarantee of food and shelter. She was a toddler when her mother was executed by her father. Her mother's name, Anne Boleyn. Her mother's name was Anne Boleyn. After that, Queen Elizabeth I was imprisoned by her sister in the Tower of London. She had no guarantee of survival. She felt anxiety and saved herself with harsh decisions. She had to act strong and enforce strict rules over the citizens. She never trusted her environment because if she did execute someone, they could kill her. Today, we don't have kings or queens with absolute power, but we have leaders, diplomacy, and political parties. Their members feel like Queen Elizabeth I, more or less, and they want to secure their food and shelter. We cannot blame them, but we can correct ourselves while we build a new universal society. If we don't give the three basic needs to our children, they will start competing for food and shelter. This is not a surprise. Your daughter can be a queen, but there is no guarantee of food and a safe shelter for her lifetime. This was terrible for Elizabeth I, and this is terrible for your and our daughters. A toddler girl like Elizabeth I needs to know her mother lives in a safe shelter with plenty of food. Additionally, every toddler girl needs a good environment in a love your neighbor as yourself society. Solana painted this artwork during the Black Spain period. In the 1920s, most people lived in deep poverty, especially women like these choir women. They couldn't find enough food to feed themselves, and they had to eat garbanzo, namely chickpea soup, every day. You can see the dog at the bottom right of the painting. It represents the safe shelter and the loyalty which the choir girl couldn't find in her lifetime. Every painting and historical event should be explained from the perspective of the three basic needs. We have a lot of women like the choir women in the yellow dress, and we can build a society for every one of them. How can we do it? We have lands that no one uses. We have plants. We can build living spaces from natural materials, cultivate food for us, and establish a school for education about the meaning of life. What was the best education for the choir girls? Their slave owners, and every one of us, whether we are a slave or a slave owner. The love your neighbor as yourself education can guarantee food, safe shelter, and a good environment for every one of us. This is a marathon in our era. We can build we can build a society. We can build a society for our next generation. We can start simply on our social media and in online conferences. I am a volunteer for it. You can start to support me in building a love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself school through food from a food forest, safe shelter from natural materials, and the meaning of life. We are guests on this earth, and we can pass through this world while singing a beautiful song. While the original masterpiece does not feature a sheep, I felt compelled to include one in my drawing. Edvard Munch was deeply haunted by the proximity of a slaughterhouse to the bridge in Oslo. He was a fragile young man, shaped by the traumatic experiences of his youth. Having lost both his mother and sister to devastating illnesses, he never found sanctuary in a healthy environment. What defines a good environment? For Munch, it would have been a world where he could eat without the echoes of slaughtered livestock and live in a serene home protected from the damp, freezing air. In the painting, he covers his ears to block the horrific noise of the nearby killing center. He opens his mouth in a silent cry to explain how the moldy walls of their home led his family to perish from tuberculosis. Edvard Munch's struggle reminds us that we all require the three basic needs: nourishment, secure shelter, and a whole society governed by the divine mandate to love your neighbor as yourself. I am preparing an English art lesson. This lesson consists of poets from my illustrations, related historical events, and illustrations of famous art paintings. Every one of them is connected to the three basic needs. Can you remember illustrations like this from your childhood? There were some happy rabbits in safe living rooms like humans. We have a task. Food, safe shelter, and the meaning of life for our next generation. We are preparing English, love your neighbor as yourself education, lessons for adults. They will be a sacred generation. I have an aim. This aim is very big and clear, but it is not compatible with the current system and my ideals. I support food for everyone, safe shelter for everyone, and education about the meaning of life. This aim sounds easy, but some people can ask, what is the meaning of life? This question is very important for me because there is only one answer to it. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is the meaning of life. We won't be able to love our neighbor perfectly as ourselves, but the meaning of life is this. Namely, one should try to do it again and again. Do you remember? Do you remember illustrated stories from your childhood? There were some rabbits in beautiful illustrations with cozy clothes, and the living spaces like people in the storybooks. This is one of our main common needs. We know what our needs are: food, safe shelter, and a good environment. We want to live in a peaceful house, and we want to be sure that we have enough food. Our neighbors should be good people. At least they won't want to steal our food or shelter, and maybe our wife, husband, or our children. This is my mission. I want to explain what the meaning of life is through my illustrations that are inspired by real art paintings, historical events, or economic struggles. Sometimes I want to buy a carpet like the mother rabbit's carpet. But I give up immediately because I don't feel this is my home, this is my country, this is my world. I need a reason, like all humanity, having food, safe shelter, and a good environment where society lives by the rule: love your neighbor as yourself. This illustration is inspired by Vermeer's painting titled The Love Letter. Vermeer lived in Holland during the 17th century. While he was a respected artist, his financial situation collapsed due to the Franco-Dutch War in 1672, which caused a severe economic crisis. He lost his ability to sell paintings and fell into deep poverty and stress, which led to his death. He left behind a wife, 11 children, and a household in massive debt. Vermeer required a guarantee of food, safe shelter, and a stable environment. This environment should have been a society where people lived by the rule: love your neighbor as yourself. Every economic problem stems from a lack of guarantee for these three basic needs. In his paintings, there are beautiful dresses, servants, music, and art reflecting a world of comfort. But when the war came, everything changed, and he did not know how to manage a household economy in such a time of crisis. I created an illustration inspired by Vermeer because I want to establish a school based on the principle of love your neighbor as yourself. This school should be located within a food forest with a building to display my illustrations and their stories. We should describe every word, every painting, and every historical event through the perspective of the three basic needs. The four stages with the Creator and the era of revelation. Why must we guarantee the three basic needs? The four stages of our relationship with God. Where are you? Where are you? We are going through an extraordinary time when we can clearly define our relationship with the Creator. Here, together with you, who hear these sentences, we are building the third stage, which is the reward and punishment stage. You came here among billions of content. The most important reason for this is not that you like this video very much, or that you decided to do a session of getting sad by hearing people's pains. You could have turned your head to another video. You could have swiped up with your finger and passed it, but something held you. It was as if an invisible hand said, "Stop, stay here." Our goal is not to count the deficiencies and mistakes in the world here and turn into melancholic people. Our goal is to bring the third stage, which is the reward and punishment stage, to life. Now, let me tell you why you are in the third stage and others are in different stages. First of all, let us say the four stages of our relationship with the Creator. First stage, single concealment. A very large part of the people do not have healthy food and safe living space, or they see the injustices in the world and accept this as the life God prepared for them. Sometimes a tyrant comes and takes even their last loaf of bread from their hands, or worse, poverty, economic crisis rise right before their eyes. Then they got a little angry, but they immediately suspect themselves, saying, "God must know something. Did he send this tyrant, perhaps?" But they continue their lives, trying to forget this event. This stage is called single concealment. Second stage, double concealment. Another part of the people completely rejects the existence of God. Everything is either a coincidence or the work of nature, and in this case, the strong must defeat the weak and do whatever it takes to continue their life. Or they think, since God does not exist anyway, then we must establish some authorities that will fulfill God's duties. And since each of them tries to bring their own understanding of God, which has nothing to do with guaranteeing the three basic needs to life, the processes of suffering and harming others continue. This stage is called double concealment. Their numbers are rapidly increasing in the world today. Those who are in this stage are approaching you, who are the third stage. Third stage, reward and punishment. This is where you are. You see God's mechanism of reward and punishment. You know that if you treat the soil well, it gives you a good crop. You know that when you grow monoculture plants, the number of harmful insects increases. If you plant various plants, beneficial insects increase. You know that When we provide a healthy food and a safe living space to all people, we will receive the reward for this as all humanity. You know that if you behave badly, bad things will happen to you. If you behave well, good things will happen to you. You are looking forward to making this visible and for all people to pass to this stage because you are a volunteer to go through the love your neighbor as yourself education. This stage is called the reward and punishment stage. This stage is called reward and punishment stage. Fourth stage, revelation. We will make the appropriate preparation on this YouTube channel and pass the rest of humanity, which is in the first 3 stages of its development, and ourselves to the stage. This stage is the revelation stage. Up to here, God was watching us from afar. From here on, we will place Him among us through cameras, chips, magnetic fields, and we will watch Him too. Since we say, don't all these evils happen to us because our God is not among us, a system where we will not be able to make mistakes even if we want to, where God is everywhere, will be born. We are building this transition bridge. Divine law does not change. The person who adds to this law or subtracts something from this law, the person who harms the functioning of this law is cursed. That is, what they do is instantly detected, and they feel exactly as if Adam and Eve were left in shame when they ate the forbidden fruit. Their face turns completely red, their eyes well up, their hands tremble because they do not know how to explain this to God. All fingers point at them, all alarms ring for them. There is nothing they can do other than repenting and asking for forgiveness from the Creator. They will never steal someone else's food again. They will stay away from any behavior that will make their neighbor feel unsafe. The divine law and what the revelation stage will bring. This law is the guarantee of the 3 basic needs. 1. Healthy food for everyone. 2. Safe living space for everyone. 3. The meaning of life, which we call the love your neighbor as yourself education. Love your neighbor as yourself education. This is the Creator's law. And we are not in the 4th stage right now. The answer to the question, don't all these evils happen to us because our God is not among us, is here. This stage, that is the revelation stage, is the stage where our bodies, which are stillborn like gods, and our fake desires are clearly directed to the right purpose. When we pass to this stage, nothing that is hidden will remain hidden anymore. We need to start examining the fine line between our demand for privacy and our desire to hide the wrong things we do already. This is called intention correction. Let us observe Let us observe why we cannot give up privacy, why we try to express this by shouting on social media as if it is, our most important need. You will find a large mass that is against artificial intelligence and the camera control systems. Cameras, chips, artificial intelligence, and 3D printer technologies will make the divine mechanism visible. A way of life will be born where it is not possible to live in some privileges that others do not have by hiding. Even wanting to have more than others will be shameful. That is why everyone will know that if they want to live in better conditions, they must elevate all humanity along with themselves. This must have already started in you with a desire to do a job that serves to guarantee the three basic needs. When a person makes a mistake, they will feel it immediately. They will feel this as shame, trembling, eyes swelling up, because they know very well what the love and fear of God are. This new stage will not be a threat. It will be a purification, a cleansing, a mandatory ascension. Architects of the new world, the bridge builders. As people in the third stage, you stand here with a very important duty. I use these stage names when expressing the situation, but you can use different names if you want. The important thing is not what names we give to these stages, but that we are passing through the same field of logic and emotion. I paint watercolor illustrations, maybe use so beautiful clothes, another writes a book, and another bakes bread. But throughout the day, only one fire burns. Only one fire burns in your heart. The fire of longing you feel for the revelation stage. You come here at the time of the live broadcast, and we remember the levels we forgot again, so that we do not think the world consists only of the emotion and the logic at our own stage. We are preparing for the next stage. We will start this process in a simple, small area. The rest of the world will follow us. Those who are in the third stage are the ones who build a bridge for the next stage. These people are a small community carrying the same fire in their hearts. Whether doing watercolors, baking bread, or saving clothes, they are all included in this mission. Their duty is to prepare the ground for the revelation stage. Queen Elizabeth I was born a princess, but she never had a promise of food and a safe home. She was a very small child when her father killed her mother. Her mother was named Anne Boleyn. Later, her older sister locked her in a dark prison. She did not know if she would live or die. She felt deep fear. She stayed alive by making very hard choices. She had to look tough. She had to look tough. She first had rules on her people. She never felt safe in her world. If she did not end the lives of her enemies, they might end hers. Today, we do not have kings or queens with total control, but we still have leaders, governments, and political groups. These people feel much like Queen Elizabeth. They just want to protect their own food and homes. We cannot be angry with them, but we can change our ways as we build a new shared world. We must give the three basic needs to our children. If we fail, they will fight each other for meals and houses. This is a natural result. Your little girl might grow up to be a queen. Yet, she still has no real promise of food and safety for her whole life. This was a nightmare for Elizabeth. It is also a nightmare for our own daughters. A tiny girl like Elizabeth needs to know her mother is safe. She needs to know her mother has plenty to eat. Also, every young child needs a kind world. They need a society that lives by the rule, love your neighbor as yourself. Solana created this piece during the Black Spain era. Throughout the 1920s, a vast majority of the population endured severe destitution, particularly women such as these choir singers. They struggled to secure sufficient nourishment. Surviving entirely on daily ration of garbanzo or chickpea stew. At the lower right corner of the canvas, you can observe a dog. This creature symbolizes the secure sanctuary and unwavering loyalty that the young choir singer was tragically denied throughout her existence. Every masterpiece and historical occurrence ought to be analyzed through the lens of our three fundamental needs. Countless women today share the plight of the choir singer in the yellow gown. And it is entirely within our power to construct a community that uplifts every single one of them. How do we achieve this? We possess unoccupied lands and abundant plant life. We have the capability to construct homes using earth-friendly materials, grow sustainable food for us, and found an academy dedicated to teaching the true purpose of existence. What is the ultimate lesson for those choir singers, the people who exploited them, and each one of us, regardless of our status as the oppressed or the oppressor? An education rooted in the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself is the only path that can guarantee universal access to sustenance, secure housing, and a harmonious environment for all. This mission is the great marathon of our time. We have the power to shape a better civilization for the generations to come. Our journey can begin quite simply through our social media platforms and virtual gatherings. I have volunteered my life to this cause. I have volunteered my life to this cause. You can begin to support my vision of establishing a school founded on loving your neighbor as yourself, a place sustained by the harvest of a food forest, housed in structures made of natural elements and focused on the meaning of life. We are merely visitors on this planet, and we have the opportunity to journey through this existence while sharing a magnificent song. My original drawing includes a sheep, even though the first painting did not. Edvard Munch felt very sick because there was a slaughter there was a slaughterhouse near the bridge in Oslo. He was a very sensitive young man because of the hard things he saw as a child. He lost his mother and his sister to terrible diseases, and he never lived in a good environment. What is a good environment? He wanted to eat his food without hearing the sounds of dying animals. He wanted to live in a peaceful home that was dry and warm. In his painting, he covers his ears to block the loud, scary noise of the slaughterhouse. He opens his mouth to cry out. He wants to show that the moldables of his house caused his family to die from tuberculosis. Edvard Munch and all of us need only three basic needs: food, safe shelter, and a kind world where people love your neighbor as yourself. I am currently putting together an English art class. The curriculum blends pieces of my own artwork, relevant historical moments, and renowned classical paintings. Everything is tied together. Everything is tied together by the core theme of fundamental human needs. Do you recall those nostalgic storybook pictures from when you were young? The ones featuring cheerful bunnies relaxing in cozy, human-like living spaces. Our mission reflects that feeling, ensuring that the youth of tomorrow are provided with nourishment, a secure home, and a profound sense of purpose. By designing these English lessons for adults around the golden rule of treating others with deep compassion, we hope to nurture a truly devoted and mindful new generation. I possess a vision. This goal is both ambitious and distinct, yet it stands at odds with the current world order and my own ideals. I advocate for universal access to nutrition, secure housing, and an education focused on the purpose of existence. This objective may appear simple, but critics often wonder, what is the true purpose of life? This inquiry is vital to me because I believe there is a singular answer: love your neighbor as yourself. This is the essence of our existence. While we may never achieve the perfection of loving others exactly as we love ourselves, the meaning of life lies in the persistent, repeated effort to do so. Do you recall the picture books? Do you recall the picture books from your youth? From your youth? They featured rabbits in charming illustrations, dressed in snug attire, and inhabiting warm homes just like humans. This represents one of our most fundamental shared desires. We are aware of our basic necessities: food, a safe haven, and a wholesome environment. We long for a tranquil home and the certainty of our next meal. We deserve neighbors who are honorable, at the very least, people who would never dream of depriving us of our sustenance, our home, or our families. This is my life's work. I aim to illuminate the meaning of life through my artwork, drawing inspiration from classical masterpieces, historical milestones, and the realities of economic hardship. Occasionally, I am tempted to purchase a rug, much like the one in the mother rabbit's home, but I instantly lose heart. I do not yet feel that this world, this nation, or even this house truly belongs to me. I require a greater justification, a world where every human being is guaranteed food and safety, and where society is guided by the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself. This artwork draws its inspiration from Vermeer's masterpiece, The Love Letter, a prominent figure um, in 17th century Holland. Vermeer saw his financial stability vanish during the Franco-Dutch War of 1672, a period of devastating economic turmoil. Stripped of the market for these paintings, he descended into a state of profound deprivation and psychological strain, which ultimately claimed his life. Upon his passing, he left his widow and 11 children to face an inheritance of overwhelming debt. Vermeer's tragic end highlights a universal necessity: the assurance of nourishment, secure housing, and a stable social order. Such an environment should ideally be rooted in the ethical mandate to love your neighbor as yourself. In truth, all economic catastrophes originate from the failure to guarantee these three fundamental pillars of existence. While his canvases portray an atmosphere of elegance, filled with exquisite garments, domestic help, and the grace of music, this world of comfort was fragile. When the tides of war shifted, Vermeer found himself ill-equipped to navigate the complexities of a household economy under the pressures of a national crisis. I have crafted this illustration as a tribute to Vermeer, because my ultimate goal is to found an educational institution centered on the principle of loving one's neighbor. My vision is for this to could flourish within a food forest centered around the gallery dedicated to my illustrations and the narratives they tell. Our mission will be to reinterpret every word, every masterpiece, and every historical milestone through the vital lens of the three basic needs. The four evolutionary stages and the epic of revelation, why the three pillars are essential. Our evolving bond with the divine, locating your position. We are navigating a momentous era in which the nature of our connection to the Creator is becoming transparent. Together with those of you drawn to this world, to these words, we are manifesting the third phase, the stage of consequence, reward, and punishment. You have found this space among a sea of endless digital noise. This was not a random choice or a desire for mere melancholy. You could have easily scrolled past. Instead, an intuitive force compelled you to pause. Our purpose here is not to dwell on the world's flaws, but to breathe life into this third stage of existence. The four degrees of concealment and light. Phase 1. Single concealment. A vast majority of humanity lacks nutritional security and a stable housing. They witness global injustice and passively accept it as a divine decree. When a tyrant seizes their sustenance or when economic ruin strikes, they may feel a spark of anger, but they quickly suppress it, assuming God must have a hidden justification. They endure life by choosing to forget. Phase 2. Double concealment. Here, the existence of a higher power is entirely denied. Life is viewed as a series of accidents or cold biological competition where the strong must exploit the weak. Alternatively, they attempt to replace God with the human authorities that fail to guarantee the three basic needs. This leads to a cycle of suffering that is rapidly expanding across the globe. Phase 3. Reward and punishment. This is your current state. You perceive the spiritual law of cause and effect. Just as you know that ecological diversity protects the harvest, you realize that providing food and shelter to all humanity brings a collective blessing. You recognize that your actions have direct moral consequences. You are a pioneer. You are a pioneer, voluntarily embracing the love your neighbor as your self-discipline. Phase 4. Revelation. This is the destination we are preparing for. Previously, the divine observed us from a distance. Now we shall integrate the divine presence into our daily lives through the mirrors of technology, cameras, sensors, and global networks. We will create a landscape where error is impossible because the Creator's presence is omnipresent. We are constructing the bridge to this reality. The immutable divine law. The revolution stage is governed by a singular law, the guarantee of three fundamental pillars. Wholesome nutrition for all, a secure and dignified sanctuary for every soul, the love your neighbor as yourself, the love your neighbor curriculum as the core of human education. In this stage, our stubborn physical impulses and the superficial desires are finally aligned with a higher purpose when we transition to this stage. Transparency replaces secrecy. The urge to hide our flaws under the guise of privacy will vanish. We must begin correcting our intentions now, moving past the fear of being seen. Technology as a divine instrument. Artificial intelligence and global monitoring will make spiritual consequences visible. Hoarding privileges or seeking to outshine others will become a source of profound shame. To elevate ourselves, we must elevate the whole. Instant rectification. Any deviation from the law of love will be felt immediately as a physical sensation, a tremor, a blush, or a tear. This is not a threat, but a process of total purification. Architects of the future, the bridge builders. As inhabitants of the third stage, you carry a sacred responsibility. Regardless of the labels we use, we are united by a shared logic and a common flame. Whether you are painting watercolors, tailoring garments, or baking bread, your heart burns with a longing for the revelation. We gather here to remember our true purpose and to ensure we do not become trapped in the limited logic of our current world. We will initiate this transformation in a small, concentrated community, and the rest of the world will eventually follow. You are the small collective keeping this fire alive, preparing the earth for the great revolution. Solana created this piece during the Black Spain era. Throughout the 1920s, a vast majority of the population endured severe destitution, particularly women such as these choir singers. They struggled to secure sufficient nourishment, surviving entirely on daily rations of garbanzo or chickpea stew. At the lower right corner of the canvas, you can observe a dog. This creature symbolizes the secure sanctuary. And unwavering loyalty that the young choir singer was tragically denied throughout her existence. Every masterpiece and historical occurrence ought to be analyzed through the lens of our three fundamental needs. Countless women today share the plight of the choir singer in the yellow gown and it is entirely within our power to construct a community that uplifts every single one of them. How do we achieve this? How do we achieve this? We possess unoccupied lands and abundant plant life. We have the capability to construct homes using earth-friendly materials, grow sustainable food for us, and found an academy dedicated to teaching the true purpose of existence. What is the ultimate lesson? What is the ultimate lesson for those choir singers, the people who exploited them, and each one of us, regardless of our status as the oppressed or the oppressor? An education rooted in the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself is the only path that can guarantee universal access to sustenance, secure housing, and a harmonious environment for all. This mission is the great marathon of our time. We have the power to shape a better civilization for the generations to come. Our journey can begin quite simply throughout our social media platforms and virtual gatherings. I have volunteered my life to this cause. I have volunteered my life to this cause. You can begin to support my vision of establishing a school founded on loving your neighbor as yourself. A place sustained by the harvest of a food forest, housed in structures made of natural elements and focused on the meaning of life. We are merely visitors on this planet, and we have the opportunity to journey through this existence while sharing a magnificent song. I have a vision that stands at odds with the current world order. Yet it remains my single aim to ensure that every human being is guaranteed food, safe shelter, and an education centered on the meaning of life. While many ask what the true purpose of existence is, I believe the answer is simple yet profound: love your neighbor as yourself. True, we may never achieve this perfectly. The essence of our life lies in the persistent, repeated effort to do so. This mission is the foundation of my work. This mission is the foundation of my work. Through my illustrations, inspired by classical masterpieces, history, and economic struggles, I aim to illuminate these three basic needs. I think of the cozy, illustrated storybooks of our childhood, where animals lived in safe, warm environments. This is a fundamental human need. Until all of humanity is guaranteed these basics, I cannot truly feel at home in this world. I need a society guided by the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself. We are currently navigating an extraordinary era in our relationship with the Creator. We are currently navigating an extraordinary era in our relationship with the Creator, moving through four distinct stages. The first is single concealment, where people lack food and safety, but passively accept injustice as a divine decree. The second is double concealment, where the existence of a higher power is denied entirely, and life becomes a cold competition where the strong defeat the weak. Most of you are in the third stage, reward and punishment. You perceive the spiritual law of cause and effect. You know that if we provide healthy food and safe living spaces for all, we will receive a collective blessing. You are the volunteers for the Love Your Neighbor education. You are the volunteers for the Love Your Neighbor education. Now, we are building a bridge to the fourth stage, revelation. In this coming epoch, we will integrate the divine presence into our daily lives through the mirrors of technology, cameras, artificial intelligence, and global networks. This will not be a system of threat, but one of total transparency and purification. In this stage of revelation, nothing hidden will remain hidden. The urge to hide our mistakes under the guise of privacy will vanish. Technology will make the divine mechanism visible, and hoarding privileges while others suffer will become a source of profound shame. Any deviation from the law of love will be felt immediately as a physical sensation. Any deviation from the law of love will be felt immediately as a physical sensation, a blush or tremor, a longing for the instant repentance. This is the immutable divine law, the guarantee of healthy food, safe shelter, and the education of loving your neighbor as yourself. Whether we are painting watercolors, saving clothes, or baking bread, we are united by this mission. As people of the third stage, our duty is to prepare the ground. We will initiate this transformation in a small community, and the rest of the world will follow. We are the architects of the new world. We are the bridge builders. In my drawing, I added a sheep. Though it is not in the original art, Edvard Munch felt a deep pain because of the slaughterhouse near the bridge in Oslo. He was a delicate young man due to the trauma of his childhood. He lost his mother and his sister to bad sicknesses, and he never found a healthy place to live. What is a good environment? He wanted to eat without the sound of animals being killed. He wanted to live in a calm home that was safe from cold and wet air. He covers his ears in the painting because of the terrible noise from the slaughter center. He opens his mouth to tell the world that his mother and sister died because of tuberculosis from moldy walls. Because of tuberculosis from moldy walls. Edvard Munch's story shows that we only need the three basic needs: food, safe shelter, and a good environment where everyone lives by the rule love your neighbor as yourself. I am creating an English art lesson. This class brings together my own drawings, moments from history, and the famous pieces of art All of these elements connect to our three most basic human needs. Do you remember the pictures from your childhood? Do you remember the pictures from your childhood? The ones showing happy rabbits safe inside cozy rooms, just like people? That is our main goal, to make sure the next generation is guaranteed food, a safe place to live, and a meaningful life. We are building these English lessons for adults to teach the value of loving others as much as we love ourselves, helping to raise a generation with a beautiful, sacred purpose. See you next time. See you next